It's a singular honor for me to be invited by the College of Surgeons. I thank the Council and the President of the College of Surgeons for inviting me today. I bring greetings from the fellows and the members of the Ceylon College of Physicians, and I'm so happy to note that you're having such a wonderful congress. On a personal note, I have been on a quest of sorts, trying to discover for myself the attributes of a good doctor. This has been a lifelong quest. I have managed to identify a few features of a good doctor. I'm not in any ways claiming that this is perfect. You may see more than I do. One is they must be having technical excellence. That's the kind of work that we've been listening to the past half an hour or so. They should be able to think critically about matters. As a surgeon, I know every step during the surgery, you take decisions after a critical analysis of what's going on, especially when things go wrong. Critical thinking helps. One must possess excellent communication skills, of which I will speak very briefly a little later. One must be resilient. One must be able, especially at times like this, when everything is not right in the country and in the health system, to face adversity, thrive in adversity, and come out of it better than we were. Then, of course, we are thrust upon leadership roles at all spheres when we are specialists in our fields. To have good leadership skills, be able to lead our teams well. Those are some of the qualities that I figured out are important features of good doctors. In terms of communication skills, we need to communicate with patients and carers with empathy. Our ability to understand the thoughts and feelings of others, that's empathy. Our ability to understand people's emotions. Compassion, as is the theme in this Congress, goes beyond empathy. It's from that stems a desire to help the person in front of you. Then, of course, people speak about this quality which binds patients to doctors. Something like friendliness or metta. Of course, our interpersonal communication skills will extend to our teams, co-workers, administrators, public, all that, etc. So if you look at the science and the art of medicine, if we were to actually put them side by side, the hard skills of medicine would be the technical excellence. Of course, all of the others that I have listed are soft skills: critical thinking, communication skills, resilience, leadership, etc. So that brings us to the point, how do we enhance the art of medicine? It could be taught. We teach communication skills in our undergraduate days. Being mentors, however senior we are, we need mentors to discuss our problems and seek some help and guidance from an independent source. It could be role modeling, which perhaps is one of the most important aspects of developing soft skills. And I propose, in addition to all that, engaging with the medical humanities helps us understand our patients that much better. It helps us understand ourselves that much better and help us become better doctors. So what are the medical humanities? Now, if you look at the historical evolution of humanities, in the olden times, there was theology which was being taught in higher seats of learning. In the 5th century BC, in ancient Greece, people realized that for young active citizens, they needed something a little more than theology. So they developed the fine arts, the mathematics, astrology, astronomy, all of that, all those skills as being essential for people to go on. Then, of course, subsequently in Renaissance, the humanities developed further. But towards the 19th century, the sciences broke away from the humanities. The pure sciences broke away, But unfortunately, medicine happens to be an applied science. We apply the pure sciences into human beings. Therefore, that brings us to this interface of arts and sciences together. It calls for intertwining of the art and the science. That led to the development of the medical humanities. It is an interdisciplinary study, and it's the interface of the science of medicine with literature, poetry, theater, art, philosophy, history, sociology, anthropology, all of that. Now, to illustrate this, I wish to draw your attention to a book. If you look at Sri Lankan literature, patient experiences are very, very rarely documented in literature. One such book is this book written by Henry Jayasena, and it's titled Balha Gilano. Balha Gilano means gravely ill. It is a phrase which appears in several of the Buddha sutras, the Girimananda Sutra, the Mahamoggallana Sutra, etc. And in that picture is Mr. Henry Jayasena young, and his son is also there, Sudaraka. Actually, this book I'm going to read from today is out of print, and Sudaraka helped me get a copy for this particular lecture. I'm grateful to him. Now, I'm going to read some parts of his book so that you can get a brief idea about what I'm trying to convey to you. Henry Jayasena says, "There should be some gravity, some urgency here that I did not know. Otherwise, would the doctor be so insistent, refusing to delay the operation even by a day? This must be a cancer. My mind was bringing up all kinds of images. Will they remove a whole part of my stomach? Would it be a cancer that has spread its tentacles all over? Good God, isn't it such circumstances that they fix a bag on you?" I was breaking out in sweat. I called the doctor again. "Doctor, please forgive me for being a nuisance. I just remembered something." "What's that?" I hesitated. "What's your problem now?" The man was still patient. "Doctor, isn't it possible that you might fix a bag on me?" "My God, sir, if that's going to happen, I'm going to back out. I cannot. I'd rather suffer whatever comes." The doctor laughed, not annoyed, but rather tolerantly. "Don't worry, man," said he. 98% we can be sure that the colostomy will not be necessary. Fortunately, your tumor happens to be fairly up in the colon. We should be able to remove it and fix you up again at the correct point." "God help me," I murmured. "You will receive God's help, a lot of it. Don't worry." The good doctor hung up on that note. A colostomy is a necessary evil for the surgeon, that is all. But it can be something which is going to drive the patient away from surgery totally. And he would actually take on a painful death instead of a colostomy bag. That would be the thought of a patient. And it is up to us to address the matter so that we can bring him towards the treatment needed. I read again from another part. Almost all these things, my mind was coming up with all kinds of conclusions. Although I would brush them off like brushing something off your body with your hands, they would come up again and again, like a caterpillar that crawls out in the night and eats up all the buds and tender leaves of a plant. A beautiful simile about how one loses all of one's confidence, faith, when a diagnosis such as a cancer is made. I'm not so strong, so it's quite possible that they'll decide against surgery. Or, if it's done, it could be the end of me. "You fool," another part of my mind taunts me. "You fool, how many millions in this world have undergone this kind of surgery? How many millions would have been cured? You idiot. Stop being pessimist. In any case, you're a bit of a softy, aren't you? Get rid of this kind of foolishness, at least in your old age. Ah, yes, old age. That's the truth. I'm an old man now, well past 60, nearing 70. So what does it matter? Even if. The anxieties, the depression that patients will face, just waiting for surgery to be done for a cancer. I read to you again, after the surgery. It must have been about 2 in the afternoon when I gained consciousness. There was no immediate pain, only a certain numbness and drowsiness. Just then, Dr. Jayasena appeared. He held both my hands in a reassuring grip. You faced the operation quite well, he said. We took a little over 3 hours on your job. It was very successful. I did not see anything malignant with my naked eye. Anyway, what was removed from you will be sent for biopsy. He was smiling, his warm, affectionate smile. Suddenly, I remembered something. He must have read my thoughts. No, we did not fix a bag to you. He smiled again. I felt like going down on my knees before this man. Thank you, sir. Thank you, doctor, was all I could say. I must have dozed off again. This is empathy, the ability of the doctor, Dr. Jayasena, to read the mind of the patient and touch the deepest of anxieties. Now, Henry Jayasena's surgery is over. He's gone for oncology treatment. He's having chemotherapy. As you walk down the rather steep aisle towards the wards, a strong smell hits you in the nostrils. One learns it is the smell of chemo injections and perhaps other strong drugs administered to cancer patients. The smell of chemo could be extremely nauseating to some. Some patients start retching from the moment they come into the ward, long before the injection is given. I too found the smell of chemo quite nauseating and unpleasant. Soon I learned to cover my nose with a handkerchief. Later, I learned to carry a fresh lime which I kept sniffing every now and then. That certainly helped me, and I would recommend this simple trick to anyone to overcome the smell of chemo. Now, that is obtaining medical knowledge from the medical humanities. I do not know whether there are any oncology textbooks which speak about the lime. In the last chapter, Mr. Henry Jayasena, the great playwright, goes on to describe why he wrote this book. This narrative could be considered meaningless by some who are hale and hearty. To some, it could be even repugnant. Yet, there are a number of reasons that led me to write this. The first is that I cannot easily forget the care, the dedication, and the affection of the doctors, nurses, attendants, and the others who treated me, looked after me, and more or less saved me from death. The second reason is that this experience was, to me, traumatic enough to urge me to put it down in writing. And the third reason is my sincere belief that it might perhaps be of some solace and encouragement to my fellow beings who are seriously ill, especially an illness such as cancer. I wish to tell them, to the best of my ability, with the best intentions, that most cancers can be cured if detected early and treated in time. Ladies and gentlemen, this book is now out of print. I believe that this could be essential reading in undergraduate and postgraduate curriculum, in perhaps medicine and surgery both. Let this presentation be a tribute to 2 of the greatest human beings I have ever known, Mr. Henry Jayasena, the great playwright, and late Professor Jayasena Fernando, a past president of this esteemed organization. This is a poem written by John Stone. He's a cardiologist. He titled this Gaudimus Igitur. That's a celebratory song usually sung in universities. And he wrote a poem. I read a part of the poem. For there will be the arts, and some will call them soft data, where in fact they are the hard data by which our lives are lived. For everyone comes to the arts too late, for you can be trained to listen only for the oboe out of the whole orchestra. For you may need to strain to hear the voice of the patient in the thin reed of his crying. For you will learn to see most acutely out of the corner of your eye, and to hear best with your inner eye. Ladies and gentlemen, I end this brief presentation with a quote from Anton Chekhov, himself a doctor and a literary figure. He says, in a private letter written to his friend Gregorovich, he writes, the sensitivity of the artist may equal the knowledge of the scientist. Both have the same object, nature, and perhaps in time, it will be possible for them to link together in a great and marvelous force, which is at present hard to imagine. And if we individually and collectively can combine the science and the arts, it will create a marvelous force which is at present hard to imagine. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much. Dr. Arosha, I think you touched all of us, and with the compassionate surgery is the theme. You did extremely well, and it was rightly fitting. You did mention two names, Mr. Henry Jayasena and our old loving professor, Jayasena. And thank you very much for bringing them into our hearts as well. It can't be more fitting to invite you for your practice being that we heard of. And you delivering this one was excellent for us and excellent thought. I'm sure young surgeons will take it as well as the old one. Thank you indeed to have graced this occasion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It has been a very great honor for me. Thank you.